Wagwan. Good morning, good night. Welcome back. And if you're listening for the first time, I'm your host, Melanie Byfield, welcoming you to another episode of The Real Situation, where we give you a taste of Jamaican politics. The World Cup's over and Spain are the world champions. Unfortunately, there were some biggies to frown about before, during and after the tournament. Things like the visa restrictions on certain countries, the denial of entry to some of the, supporters and participants, the Balogun bollocks, and the crazy ticket prices. Football was great, though. I must say I watched about 80 to 85% of the games. I really enjoyed the football. There was the Cabo Verde, moments, and seeing people turn out to support their country. It was a good tournament. Big names like, Yamal, Mbappe, and na Jude Bellingham. These are the ballers who, we're going to be looking for during the season, and, watching them in their leagues and looking out for them at the next World Cup. There's a farewell to Messi and Ronaldo. This was their last World Cup. Neymar said it's his last too. I'm looking forward to Jamaica qualifying for the next one, though. Claiming it. And we have the English Premier League to look forward to next month. Speaking of the Premier League, let's not forget, Arsenal are the champions. And to wrap up this, this sporting topic, I want to send condolences to the family of the legendary cricket player, Sir Garfield Sobers, who passed away recently. Okay, so let's check out the real situation. I've been having some weird and bad weather here in the last couple of weeks. We've had the sky full of beer smog. Can't see no sun, air quality mash up. Don't go outside or don't do no strenuous exercise. Just tan your yard. Nobody go outside. It got better though. The day of the World Cup, actually, it was a beautiful day. There was even another day where there was like 5 inches of rain in some places, and you're being told don't drive into flooded parts of a road, so you just have to wait. Can't go no further. But the water's going to recede, and dry up, right? Roads that were flooded and couldn't be passed yesterday, you can pass tomorrow, next day at the latest. I feel like that's what's happening with Jamaica's road to becoming a republic. The sky is thick. Can't see no sun. Nobody now move, road flood out. Actually, it's like somebody even take out the car battery. One of the huge roadblocks in this process, there was the CCJ. And, actually, that is a subject where there's still no consensus. PNP want it, JLP don't want it. Right now Jamaica's apex court is the Privy Council in London. PNP want the CCJ. The JLP want a local apex court in Jamaica, brand new. That can't work. For reasons, right? Number one, where the money come from? Number 2, Jamaica pay for one already. Number 3, Jamaica's actually using the one it paid for, right? The CCJ's got 2 jurisdictions, the originating jurisdiction and the appellate jurisdiction. Jamaica's already utilizing the originating jurisdiction. It's the appellant jurisdiction where the issue is. So on the subject of the originating jurisdiction of the CCJ, there was an article in the Gleaner titled Regional Row, TNT, Trinidad and Tobago, challenges CARICOM chief's reappointment and wants the CCJ to decide. So I'm going to share some of this article with you. CARICOM heads of government have agreed to seek an advisory opinion from the Caribbean Court of Justice in an effort to resolve the dispute surrounding the reappointment of the community's Secretary General, Dr. Carla Barnett. It comes during a meeting of the regional heads at the 51st regular meeting of the Conference of Heads of Government of CARICOM in St. Lucia. Trinidad and Tobago Prime Minister argued that the decision was finalised during a heads-only retreat in Nevis in February, challenging that under Article 24 of the revised Treaty of Chaguaramas, that the power to appoint or reappoint lies strictly within the conference. So an advisory opinion is being sought from the CCJ, recognising the court's role as the treaty's official interpretation body. The article goes on. The statement stressed that the process should not be viewed as questioning the integrity of any member, state or individual, but rather as a demonstration of the community's commitment to good governance and continuous institutional improvement. The TNT PM said, "Our concern is not directed towards any individual. It is neither personal nor political. Rather, it concerns the legality of the process adopted, the integrity of our institutions, and the faithful observance of the constitutional framework established by the treaty." The government of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago does not accept the process by which the Secretary General was purportedly reappointed, and consequently is unable to recognise the validity of the purported second term. The Prime Minister of Jamaica said, "It's become clear that we are not all on the same page. Therefore, it's important that any concerns be addressed in a meaningful manner in order to restore cohesion, if not unity, which is indispensable to the effective functioning of CARICOM." So, other than resolve it between themselves, where else are they supposed to go? The Privy Council? Nah. I mean, look, this is all good. I mean, that's the purpose of this court. Not true? To interpret the revised Treaty of Chaguaramas. Its convenience is, absolutely recognised, right? No visa required, no travel to another continent. It would be great if some diplomacy could also be extended to constitutional reform. There's an article that was in the Gleaner, an editorial I'm going to share just a little bit about from that article called Vale Royal and Red Lines. And the article references how official policy and the navigation of diplomacy rests with elected governments, right? And some matters, it goes on to say, therefore demand consideration and possibly agreement outside of the general process. That, in part, is what the Vale Royal talks started in the 90s when PJ and Siaga, were the Prime Minister and opposition leader. That's what the Vale Royal talks were designed to do. They have been held periodically since then, but have been dormant since 2023, when the government and opposition differed on constitutional reform. And then the article concludes saying after last September's general election, Prime Minister Holness signalled that the Vale Royal summits would be reconvened in an attempt to break the logjam on the constitutional questions. This hasn't happened. So, while nothing is moving forward, we can, of course, still talk about the issues that affect constitutional form, one of which runs through it almost like a spine, right? Which is governance. And this includes how those in power are held accountable. I'm going to, share a couple of developments relating to governance with you, but I'd like to share this one. And while it's not in Jamaica, it's in the Caribbean still. So there's an article in Caribbean Today, and I'm going to share some of that article with you. Former Turks and Caicos Islands premier. When an island is not independent, they have a premier, right? Not a prime minister or a president. So the premier, Michael Missick, has been sentenced to 4 years and 26 days after being convicted on bribery charges in a landmark corruption case that has spanned more than a decade. The prosecution regarded as the most significant corruption case in the British Overseas Territories history, centred on allegations that public officials benefited from deals involving Crown land and major development projects. In delivering the sentence, the judge said corruption by public officials represented a serious abuse of the trust placed in them by the public and required custodial punishment to reflect the gravity of those offences and discourage similar conduct by others. The case involves an immense betrayal of public trust for the sake of personal gain. The conduct of the defendants caused a constitutional crisis and reputational harm to the territory. The article goes on to say the judge adopted a starting point of 8 years imprisonment on each of the 3 bribery counts before reducing the sentence to account for several mitigating factors, including the lengthy delay in bringing the matter to a conclusion, the breach of Missick's constitutional right to a trial within a reasonable time, and the 339 days he spent in Brazil while extradition proceedings were underway. The court also took into consideration Missick's lack of previous convictions, his years of public service, family circumstances, and medical evidence presented during the sentencing hearing. Missick was convicted alongside former cabinet minister McAllister Henschel, who was found guilty on 2 bribery counts, and attorney Thomas Chow Missick, who was found guilty of 4 money laundering charges. Henschel was sentenced to 3 years, while Chow Missick was sentenced to 4. In his ruling convicting Missick, the judge found that the former premier had acted contrary to the standards of honesty and integrity expected of elected officials. Continuing on that topic of governance, the Observer ran an article which I'm going to call Not Like the First Time. Not like the first time. Remember that tune from the last episode? Second time around. Yeah, so that tune continues, right? Because, excuse my singing, Dr. Wheatley, when I say not like the first time, there's a reason for that. So, yeah, previously we talked about the allegations, against him. But this second time around, not like the first time, I'm saying that because the first time, following the Petrojam scandal, he actually resigned, right? this time, unlike the first time, he's gone to the Supreme Court and he's seeking permission to apply for a judicial review of the decision by the Integrity Commission, that he faces multiple charges, including illicit enrichment. Now, as a reminder, judicial review is when someone asks the court to look at a decision made by a government body or to invalidate a constitutional law. So basically, Dr. Wheatley is seeking a declaration from the court that no charges should be laid against him until a hearing for the judicial review is heard and a determination made. This article goes on to say that his lawyers applied for judicial review to claim administrative orders, including an order of certiorari, quashing the report of the IC's Director of Investigation, Cavan Stevenson, who was named as the first respondent, including his comments, his findings, observations, conclusions, and recommendations. And in addition to that, that the report be referred to. They also want the same done with the recommendations of the Director of Corruption Prosecution, Kellyanne Murdoch, right, who is a second respondent, and that also includes the Commission of Taxation Administration of Jamaica. So they want all of that quashed, right? The lawyers also want an order of prohibition restraining the Integrity Commission and its servants or agents or otherwise from instituting or continuing any prosecution of Dr. Wheatley based on the investigation report or ruling. In a report tabled in Parliament, the IC ruled that Wheatley should be charged with knowingly making a false statement in a statutory declaration, knowingly making a false statement in a statutory declaration contrary to section 43(2)(a), failing without reasonable cause to provide information contrary to section 43(1)(b), and illicit enrichment contrary to section 14(5). Dr. Wheatley is the second cabinet minister to head to court to challenge a ruling of the Integrity Commission, remembering that Prime Minister Andrew Holness is also before the court for a judicial review of the Integrity Commission's report on his statutory declarations. He's seeking a declaration that the Commission acted unfairly and unlawfully in the conduct of its investigation into his statutory declarations. So we'll be following those two matters. And then the final, governance, topic that I'd like to address is an article in the Gleaner, and it is basically talking about the Rural Reed CMU fraud trial. The title is CMU Fraud Trial to Proceed, October 5. And I'm going to share that article with you, or some of it. Defence lawyers in the multi-million-dollar Caribbean Maritime University fraud trial have been placed on notice that the case will proceed on October 5. And the parish court judge, Sanchia Burrell, warned that the repeated scheduling difficulties of one attorney can no longer be allowed to derail the proceedings. The article went on to say that Burrell issued the warning during a case management hearing after granting what she described as one final adjournment to accommodate defence counsel. She said that the date had already been agreed by the parties, but made it clear that no further delays would be entertained. Burrell warned that continued delays increase the risk of prejudice to criminal proceedings through fading memories, difficulties in witness management, and disruption of the orderly progression of the trial. Burrell urged defence counsels, particularly Hugh Wildman, to make appropriate arrangements to ensure the trial could continue in their absence, whether by properly instructing junior counsel or retaining alternative counsel to take over the proceedings. She said the court has consistently moderated expectations and accommodated counsel, but there comes a point when the proper administration of justice requires certainty. That point has now been reached. The judge also noted that October 7 will mark 1 year since the trial began. She says, we don't have much to show for an entire year. Proper and responsible case management requires that we continue on the 5th of October. The trial has been repeatedly delayed due to the unavailability of several defence attorneys who have been engaged in other matters which clashed with the trial dates that have now been scheduled. The defendants have been charged with conspiring to defraud the Ministry of Education and Caribbean Maritime University of more than 25 million, and all have pleaded not guilty. There is some good news actually for the CMU. There was an article that I came across in the Gleaner. CMU energy bill falls as solar project comes online. I'm going to share some of that with you. The CMU's solar project, commissioned in April, is already saving the institution millions of dollars on its electricity bill compared with the same period last year. During the day, the campus operates entirely off-grid, as it's fully powered by solar energy. At night, when demand is lower, it reconnects to the national grid. The savings were evident almost immediately, with the university recording lower electricity bills both in March and April compared with the same period last year. Professor Andrew Spencer, CMU's president, said what we've essentially seen is the reduction in our energy bill. He said obviously it's not going to be massive initially, but for example in March, when you compare year over year, last year to this year, our energy bill was 3.9 million. Obviously we're talking Jamaican dollars. This year for March it was 3.3. In April it got even better. April last year our bill was 3.7 million. This April the bill was 2.1, a reduction of 1.6 million in our monthly electricity bill. He said the university has long promoted alternative energy through its programs, including a short certificate course in solar engineering. Now, he said, how can you be teaching that and not live in it? So we have decided to live it, and here we are. They have a 620 kilowatt plant, 620,000 watt plant that's capable of powering the entire campus with surplus generation capacity. Great. So now for the remainder on the island. Not true. Okay, so continuing on the topic of governance, you may have seen the conversation with the Nurse Association President, Ms. Dawn Marie Richards, and the Prime Minister, when he suggested that Jamaica has never had enough healthcare professionals. She was very eloquent and respectful and gave him the restaurant lady response. We don't have that. But basically she brought the PM up to speed on some of the issues facing Jamaicans who leave and for those who live in the country, stating that while the reasons the people left before remain, there's others to take into consideration, like opportunity and basic things like special education, special needs education, and healthcare for the elderly. And she said, "We not have that." Danielle Archer authored an article that I'm going to reference in commenting on that interaction with the between Ms. Richards and Prime Minister Holness. She said, in Hans Christian Andersen's The Emperor's New Clothes, an entire kingdom watches a leader walk naked through the streets. Everyone sees the truth, no one speaks, not the ministers, not the advisors, not the public, not the institutions. The fear of consequence becomes more powerful than the clarity of truth. This lady never passed our place, as I heard, was said. Can't remember where that come from, and, I'm not trying to really find it, to be honest, but what the lady did was very respectfully tell the PM the truth. There is a quote I'd like to reference by Anne Bowman, and it's regarding state constitutions, the fundamental rules of state government. The quote is, as one writer on constitutional change observed, the process requires sustained, dedicated, organised effort, vigorous, aggressive and imaginative leadership, bipartisan political support, education of the electorate on the issues, judicious selection of the means, and seemingly endless patience. All of that is required because we want to see Jamaica's journey to becoming a republic, the removal of the monarchy, the Jamaicanization of the constitution, and the CCJ become Jamaica's apex court. Be successful. I'd like to wrap up by wishing Rita Marley, wife of the legendary Bob, Rita, reggae artist, 1/3 of the greatest female group ever, I-Trees. A blessed and happy 80th Earth Strong. Remember, if you're not registered to vote, September 30, 2026 is the deadline to register for the November 30, 2026 voters list. You can find this podcast on YouTube, Buzzsprout, Spotify, Podcast Index, Deezer, Podcast Addict, Apple, iHeartRadio, and Amazon Music. If you want to reason about anything or you can't find any of the material I was talking about, you can email me on melanie.atasteofja@gmail.com. That's melanie.atasteofja@gmail.com. So until the next time, thank you for supporting this podcast. Please subscribe, like, follow, share with your family and friends. And again, I thank you for taking the time to listen. One love. Yes. The word is love.